And it's 8 o'clock. It's great to see everyone this morning on this first Thursday in 2024. And I woke up this morning after a couple weeks of, tech difficulties. Last week was like the worst ever that I've had. And I hope that all of you made it through the fact that we didn't meet. But Billy and I were doing backflips trying to make it happen, and it just didn't. So when I woke up this morning, I was like, it's a new year, and we are going to get really focused at the intersection this year. And I'm going to kind of do a precursor to what we're going to be talking about, but specifically about at the intersection. Why do we meet at the intersection? The why is this. We're going to learn a lot together. We're going to meet new people. We have done and will continue to do some mutual work in discovering each other and efforts that are happening. But the big why is to develop a much larger and stronger community that is well-informed, on the same page, and working together in the same direction. And so I asked this in every notification, but I'm going to get more serious about it. We all need to be working at this together. So I'm going to invite and encourage that every week that all of us are sending out this notification to others, our colleagues, our connections, our networks, our neighbors, people who are working in the direction of a stronger, collaborative community in San Antonio. I think if not now, when? The times have always called for us to do this. I mean, I think back about when we started this at the pandemic, how much we needed this kind of glue, this time pulling us together, and the things that we've been able to do because of that. We've got about a little over 400 people in this notification list who have come, gone, come again. And we get a healthy 10%, which is that is good for something like this. But there is no reason why we don't have hundreds on this call every Thursday of leaders across our city working in the direction of being the best we can be, to be a strong network together movement across our city. So I'm imploring you during 2024 for us I invite you into the focus of let's move together. Let's strengthen the places where we've been finding our strength and make those connections as strong as we can. Again, I think our world is calling for us to do so. So that's my 2024 resolve, that we strengthened what we're doing and get more people at the intersection. This isn't I'm making money off the fact that more people are followers, whatever that thing that happens on social media, which I don't understand even how that works, but that's not what we're doing at the intersection. That's not what we're doing. So I'm wondering, because I sent out information about all the events that we're talking about today. I thought there might be another person here, but he's not here. I was going to give him a chance. Does anybody, besides the ones who are going to be conversing today, are there any announcements that someone would like to make?
I just put in the chat box that at the Festival of Faiths, the children's stories are going to be absolutely wonderful. Rabbi Lisa, who's usually with us, she's bringing her books. Sumaira Tech is bringing a story. Deepti Karod's got those Hindu stories in yesterday. Simran Singh, he emailed me. Yep, he would be willing to have his story too.
Well, good. She just couldn't help herself, but talk about one of the things that we're talking about today. Go, Martha Ann. So we're going to start because there are a lot of conversers this morning, conversation starters. Lisa was supposed to be one of them, but I also noticed that Karen is with us. And so Karen can also step up in that place. So I'm going to make some introductions. So Sho is with us this morning. I'm going to go into speaker view, and I hope we get to see him live. Right now we've got his little icon, but I'm going to invite you to oh, there's Mark Whittick. I'm going to do this anyway. Mark Whittick, we're not talking about your Dream Week event this morning. So I'm inviting you, Mark, to make an announcement about yours. So Mark, tell us, I know that you have a great book read during Dream Week. Mark? And he's not ready for that. Build up. Okay, so we got Sho with us. Sho is a creator of Dream Week, and he was with us some last year as well. But he's the drive behind Dream Week. We also have with us Karen Ball, who is part of the planning team for the Martin Luther King Interfaith Service. That's on January 14th. We have Wyndee Holbrook with us, who is the lead on the Inaugural Festival of Faiths. That's on January 21st. And we also have with us Meg Garcia, who is the lead coordinator, executive director of the Peace Center in town, but the Blessing of the Peacemakers on January 28th. There is also an interfaith panel during the DreamHour panel series on January 24th that I've been pulling together. So we're just going to jump right in to the conversation because we got people here to converse. So I sent everybody in the notification all the links to all these events. So if you want to know the details, who, what, when, where, just go there. Today we're going to talk about why. Why are these interfaith gatherings important? I mean, we've all got tons of things to do. It's not like we have to think of new events or new fun things to go to, right? Why take the time to do what we're doing? So I'd like to hear that from someone. Why? Why interfaith? Why compassion? Why now? Thoughts?
Well, Ann, I'll jump in. You
Good.
touched on it earlier. The drive for me for what we're doing with the Festival of Faiths is not, I mean, we use the word community in all kinds of ways. I mean, it's used in advertising, but there's a depth that comes with community. And that's certainly what I have been finding in this last year of working toward this inaugural Festival of Faiths. And what I found the very first time I went to a Dream Week event, which would have been 2018, was in this space, this compassion drive, there's an authenticity, there's a need, there's a hunger, there's a coming together for authentic community. And that's certainly what's been driving us in putting together the festival. Not that we just know about other people, but we come to know each other.
So authentic in the knowing and relationships. I see these Shows nodding. What are you thinking, Sho? And you're muted. There
Yeah.
you go.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, I think it's always a surprise when you kind of step outside your one's comfort zone and get to learn about other people and other religions in this case, or other faiths. And I think it's always a pleasant surprise to see how much of it is, can be found in one's faith as well. So I think that's a wonderful thing. Just the investigation of how much we have in common, really. And it's always I think it's a very important step, that the more invested one is to one's faith, one has to realize there are other people who are probably equally or more invested in their own faiths as well. And I think that always makes for the opportunity for partnership, because you start to, at least one should start to understand that there's so much more than our own unique perspective, and that everyone has such perspectives, and there might be more to learn, because we can't decipher and have the entire view. That the more we are, and the collective, the more we can see, and the better vision we have.
Better vision, the more we can see. And I know, Meg, that the Peace Center initially started as kind of an interfaith movement and collaborative, but now the Peace Center has moved on to college and is in an educational institution. So why this, multi-faith, interfaith kind of, why is that important within an educational system, or with the Peace Center now?
Absolutely. Good morning, y'all. I think in just that, so the Peace Center started as interfaith. It has now moved to an educational institution where it is just as important to talk about multi-faith and intersections of thought and of people. So, the Compassion Drive, it's about what are we doing in our spaces? How are we transforming, healing, and learning more about ourselves? And how do we affect change in our community through our everyday actions? The golden rule: treat others as you would want to be treated. I think that there's a lot of intellectual, educational things to be gleaned from that. And so while we are an educational institution, we're a community college. So we believe in democratizing peace, democratizing education. And we do that through deep understanding, which is faith, which is tradition, which is ritual.
And I also want to ask Lisa or Karen, they're both part of the MLK interfaith services that is on January 14th. It's always the day before the march. And I think of all of these, it's the longest running event during January. Could you say something about why? Why is that a part? There's Karen. There you go.
Good morning. Good morning. I hope I'm not jumping in front of Lisa. I can only see you, Anne, on the screen. You're correct. This is going to be the 37th year that we have this service. And it's an opportunity for the interfaith community to come and learn about other faiths. And the common focal point is the message and vision of Martin Luther King and the beloved community. How can we, as people of faith in our diverse faiths, create that reality of the beloved community? So this year, the event will be, as you mentioned, on January 14th. It will be at St. Paul's United Methodist Church on Center Street. And our main speaker is going to be Art Hall. And the reason to come is that we are going to have music and chants and dance. And so, want to add anything?
And maybe not.
Yeah, hi.
There she is. There she is.
Good morning. I think you said it perfectly, Karen. And I think that, we're all created in God's image. We're all created equally. And that was a big part of MLK's message. So I think utilizing all different faiths to remind people of that message is really important. And it definitely is a highlight for me of the weekend. It's really a beautiful service, and I encourage everyone, if you haven't been, it's so uplifting. And afterwards we have a meal together, and it's just a really, really nice event. So I encourage everyone to come try it if you haven't.
Mhm. And one of the things too that I kind of hear subtly underneath everything that's being said, but for me, and as well as the interfaith panel that's going to be happening on January 24th, there's this common ground that we don't speak enough of among the world religions, and that's the ethic of reciprocity, that golden rule, the very foundation for compassion, to treat others the way we wish to be treated, and also to not treat others in ways that we don't wish to be treated, right? And that is held in all of the world religions. That is a common ground, within belief systems. And, like, what kind of peace possibility would that be, right? If just people of faith practiced that ethic, right? And what would happen to the world? I hope for like Wyndee, and hearing from Karen that it's like the 37th year, and this is the inaugural year, the first year of Festival of Faiths. So my next question is about vision. And Sho mentioned vision. The more we learn, the more we are able to see each other. The more we're together, again, the more we're able to see each other and know each other. Empathy can kick in as we gather, and empathy is like the precursor step to compassion. So I want to invite your visioning for a moment to envision, with all of this mix that we have, what is that vision? Not just to have another event in a year, right? Beyond that, what is the vision for our community that comes out of these events, but this kind of work? What do you see and hope for?
And again, I'll jump in.
Good.
One of the words that just immediately rings in my mind, a new partner in this work that I've encountered in this last year, is my friend, Mr. Narsi Khanna. And Narsi is Hindu. And we were meeting one day, and we were, this was in the early formation of what do we want from the festival? What is the why? What's the big picture? And we started talking about the issue of respect, because I'm of a generation, as is Narsi, where the focus was so much about tolerance. And then we realized, well, tolerance doesn't build anything. Tolerance still keeps everybody at a distance. And then we worked toward the word respect. And Narsi said so genuinely, he said, "Do you respect me?" And that has really rung in my mind and kind of been an undergirding thought in building this work together, is coming together with a mutuality of respect, that just like Sho was saying earlier, I need to be ready to learn from you, to grow from what you have to share, as opposed to coming with an agenda. And I feel like that's a real undergirding issue with regard to respect and where we go from here. So in moving forward, what we see beyond the inaugural, well, we met, our steering committee team met yesterday, and there were all these, oh, we want to do this and this. And they were like, wait a minute. This is happening in 3 weeks. Let's hold that for the next year. So starting anything, whether it's this Festival of Faiths or the service that began 37 years ago, you begin where you begin, and then the vision keeps unfolding before you, as well as adding to the present.
Hmm. I'm glad we're recording that, all of this, so we can all go back, and write down those quotes and put them into things, right? But respect is a part of compassion, right? Of that ethic and that golden rule. Other thoughts from others?
Can I jump in? Ann?
Sure. Yeah.
You had mentioned that the thread of compassion, runs through all of our major faith traditions. A quote from MLK in regards to compassion is, true compassion is more than flinging a coin to a beggar. It is not haphazard and superficial. It comes to see that an edifice which produces the beggar needs restructuring. And I bring that up because I think another element of compassion or vision is justice and equity. So looking at where in our systems, our political systems, our economic systems, do we need restructuring because how the current system is designed keeps us in opposition to one another, or keeps us polarized. You had asked also earlier if anybody had an announcement, and I didn't take the opportunity to announce it, but there is a international peace game coming up, and it's being sponsored. One of the partners is the Charter for Compassion. So if anyone goes either to the charterforcompassion.org or peacegames2030.org, you can find out how to create a team to practice 7 practices that bring about second order change. So it's about how do we create a compelling vision of the beloved community that people just can't help but want to join and become part of.
Can you put those links, Karen, in the chat for people?
I can, yes.
And I think too, what you've talked about is also seeing ourselves as a part of something larger than ourselves, and also historically. So when we look, at Martin Luther King, right? And then that's what's also beautiful about this mix, but that history, and also what King got from Gandhi, yeah, we start where we are, like Wyndee says, and it unfolds in front of us, but we're also in this long train of people before us and around us globally, currently. We've learned a lot as a species, and yet we have so much to learn, right? Because we've got a long way to go when it comes to global compassion. Other thoughts on vision?
Well, Anne, I was going to jump in because of you mentioned Martin Luther King and Gandhi, and that is a lot of what the blessing is, right? Honoring these San Antonians, right? And honoring the very practical peacemakers that live in and amongst us, that are these droplets of change, right? These drops that cause ripples. And I think what's very special about the blessing is the intergenerational aspect to that. We're talking about time, and we're talking about length. We're talking about different ideas people have. People bring their families, they bring their grandparents, they bring themselves, they bring their children, and how that seed is being planted, that seed of peace, that seed of change, whether in ourselves, whether systemically, honoring difference, looking at the people around them who attend. That was one of the most beautiful things I would get from the blessing, that there were so many people with whom I had the opportunity to connect that I would not in other spaces have that opportunity to dialogue and to hear people's visions for themselves and for San Antonio. I mean, we are a compassionate city. That's incredible. We're a city who has long running traditions, 37 years interfaith. The blessing has been around this will be its 19th year. And we want it to be for everyone. So how do we continue to say, this is for you? This is to honor and celebrate through ritual for you and for your children and their children.
Sho, I know you're thinking. I can hear you think. Talk to us about vision.
That's interesting. Well, and I think you know, just the idea of community alone, you know, I belong to obviously to the Nigerian community. I imagine the you know, broader African American community, and maybe the media community. And so there's a danger when we describe ourselves as such, in the sense that, you know, we don't want to become insular and have these bubbles. The idea is that if there's a Jewish community, it should have some channels that I, as a immigrant here, might be able to access what they have to offer the broader community. So in terms of vision as well, we have to see the entire community as a whole, almost like a body that, you know, no finger, no arm is expendable, and that what's going on in the Jewish community or the Arab community or the Nigerian community or even the health community affects me in some fashion. And as much as it's important that we try to open up our doors and open up our arms for an embrace for other communities, we also have to learn to venture and get out of our little bubbles and investigate. And so we don't have, I think that is the reason why sometimes you have this unnecessary conflict issues when there are no proper channels. So having the vision doesn't mean that one becomes static. It requires us to start to venture out and extend it. And there's no danger, for example, that if I was born cis or straight, that any involvement with the LGBTQ community would, you know, somehow change me. But I've learned a lot from, you know, just learning a little bit more. I've learned a lot from just dialoguing and being around folks who are in that community, and it's only because they've allowed me in as well. So the vision is very important, and but it's only important to set us up on our way and give us a little bit more clarity on the path we take. And the whole point is that you can always return home, you know, if you don't enjoy what you have to see, but you at least learn from it.
I remember too, Sho, from last year, one of the things that you said, and we weren't necessarily talking about vision, but it has inspired me ever since I heard it, but was this vision about people from other places, you know, saying something like, well, if they can do it in San Antonio, or what is San Antonio doing? But what if we went to San Antonio? Could we work out our differences there? Now that's a vision, you know, like, what is this energy that we have that's going on here, right? And then how do we take the synergy of that and focus it into something that, you know, impacts the entire planet? What is that vision? What do we contribute to that? I'm going to take a pause here. It's 8:29, and everyone can think on that a little bit. But for those who have to leave us at this point, thanks for being with us today. And Jan Puckett, yes, next week is going to be with us, and we're going to continue our series on healing from within different faiths, religious and spiritual traditions, and not healing from, but within them. So we will pick that up again next week. I want to go ahead and kind of open up the conversation a bit. I haven't been following chat. I'm going to go look there, but I want to invite other people, attendees, to jump in. And if you have, Martha Ann has her hand up already. So Martha Ann.
In the chat box, I put a link to a wonderful passage by Valerie Carr And I had the opportunity to be a scout at the Louisville Festival of Faiths. And in their booklet, I was profoundly touched by Valerie Carr's words. And after Sikhs had been massacred in a Sikh temple in Wisconsin, she began her beautiful crusade of teaching revolutionary love. And it's so touching the way she brings out the good in each of the traditions. So I put the link in the chat box. Hope you can open it.
And that's also a peace plan, bringing out the best, right? In each of us. Like, what if we were always looking for the best and inviting that out of each other? What would that do, right, in the world? And anybody can raise question, thoughts, jump in. Revolutionary love.
Hi, and this is Sonia. You know, you
Hi, Sonia.
say, hi, the revolutionary love. That's like creating that ripple effect, right? That ripple effect of change, positive with compassion. And it's whenever you hear the term compassion, you're like, well, what does that mean? Well, it's kindness, it's patience, it's learning to breathe, learning to reflect. And if we can be that way with ourselves, then we can be that beacon of hope and light for others. You know, it's just sometimes in the circumstances in our situations that we're in, we don't even know sometimes when the people need that. So if we're able just to be that hope and be that light, well, we can create a ripple effect of that compassion and love and the resiliency, and others can be treating others the way we make them feel. They'll make others feel that way too. Yeah, I just wanted to include that reflection.
Well, and I think too, Sonia, what you've brought in is, you know, that compassion for self, but within how we practice this within our families.
With our families.
You know, in our homes, you know, we're talking about San Antonio impact, we're talking about global impact, but it's all connected, right? And that ripple effect, that how we practice the compassion with ourselves, and how that moves forward into the rest of the world. So thank you for sharing that. Mark, I'm going to try one more time with Mark Whittick, and this isn't a question about an announcement, but Mark is, typical Mark, is hosting a book read during DreamWeek. And one, I hope, Mark, that you could speak a bit about the books, but why these books in particular? How does it connect in the same way or different ways as we've been discussing this morning? Are you with us, Mark? There he is. Good.
There. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I asked two wise ladies. I needed a book that about compassion that pulls people together. And one of the wise ladies was Anne, and the other one was Patricia Castillo. They were together, and the books that popped up was Hope Rising by Casey Gwynn and Healing the Heart of Democracy by Palmer Parker. And I could not pull out a sword and slice the baby in half. I said, no, we're going to do both of them. We're going to shuffle the deck and blend these two, the wisdom of these two. But think about it. We got to have hope, but hope needs to be more than a wish. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. Hope it can be an action word where there's pathways and agency. So there's wisdom in this book. And Healing the Heart of Democracy, we just finished Thanksgiving and Christmas, and a lot of families don't like to get together because they have to sit across from their uncle, who's polar opposite. And how do we take that energy and use it for good rather than fight or run? So we're going to shuffle these two books. There's a website, executivebookreview.com. It's going to be at Ella Austin on the 17th. And we're expecting quite a turnout. And we will have time to talk among ourselves. You know, what did we get out of this? So it's not just a listening session. And this should be quite a great evening.
And what's beautiful too about DreamWeek, it's like this massive puzzle, right? And you start to even look at this puzzle on the screen. And there are similarities, but there are these tweaks, right, in the puzzle pieces. And then that fitting together and how that gives us a much fuller picture. So I'm looking forward to those book reads. Shahram, I see your hand is up.
Yes, good morning, everyone.
Good
Actually,
morning.
I would like first to say Happy New Year to everyone, and I hope this year will be better than last year, and wish hope and peace and health for everyone. I would like to add just about the conversation what it was in today morning, and just I believe in first religion or faith. If everyone can believe in first religion or faith, that's what I think it's humanity, religion or faith. If we can say the first religion, all of us, we have to believe in it. Faith or religion is humanity, not, and the second will be my religion, your religion, or your faith. That will be the second. But first, it will be the humanity. If we think all we have one religion, and that's humanity, that will be connect all of us together as one faith, one religion together. Is just human. We can feel about each other. We can think about each other in one faith, one belief. And then there is, I think, will be hope, peace, respect. That's just when I want to mention that is in my thought. That's the first religion. Everyone, all human, we should believe in it. The humanity. Then will be, I think, no more war. That's all will be peace. Thank you.
It makes me think too, Shahram, that hope, peace, respect, I know they're nouns, you know, if we were to look in a dictionary, but they're really verbs. They're action words. And drive, by the way, Sho, is a very strong word to be chosen in the theme, a very strong action word. Can you say a little bit more about drive, the compassion drive? How did that theme develop?
In my thinking, it's as you said, there is all known. But when we said peace, when we said love, when we said respect, that is just one word. We say it, but its real meaning is not in dictionary. Is in our hearts. We have to feel it. We have to feel the love about each other. How we can be kind with others. It's not just we said we need love. No, we need kindness. No, that's what we feel about each other. That is will be the kindness and love. How we our reaction to each others. That will be respect. Not just I said we need to have respect. No, how I when I see Anne, how my face is changed, it will be smile, and I get Anne with my old contacts. That will be the respect and kindness and love. That is my body action, my face, my eyes, not only my tongues. The tongues, it's most of the time is not real. But the eyes, they not lie. The face is not lie. The tongues maybe not say the real, maybe pretend most of the time. But when we look to eyes each other's, we can find the reality. We can find the truth, and that's what I believe in feeling. When we said kindness and love or respect or kindness or peace, all of them is not just the words. We have to feel about each other. That's what I mean when we have a faith mean humanity, the human religion. And after that, whatever belief, that's personal. But between all the human in the world, if we believe in humanity, then we can feel about each other's. Like how we feel about our sister brother, the blood brother sister, let we say, when they have problem, they happy, and we like to share with them, then we have to share that with all human. That's what I believe.
Well, and to what I hear, it's like we've come full circle. Because at the beginning, when Wyndee first jumped in, you talked about authenticity, that authentic relationship. And I think, Shahram, that's exactly what you're talking about. We see the real other in each other in that relationship. Sho, do you want to say something about the drive of it?
So the drive, and this came about, a series of conversations we had, and if you recall, and a lot of it came up from this initial meeting, my annual pilgrimage in the morning here to meet you folks, and it came out from this, and we had a couple of meetings at Wyndee's book club, and it's just a distinction between kindness and compassion. And kindness being obviously maybe me seeing someone in need of food and being able to share what I have, and compassion on the other hand being maybe not having the resources but troubled by just this idea that there's somebody else is there out there hungry and I can't shake it off. It's a little bit more I believe has something to do with just one's actual, being. I think there's some people who are just naturally more compassionate than others. So we're thinking about whether it's in the, the Texas Blood and Tissue or Goodwill or the food bank, how we can piggyback on the drivers of compassion within our community, how we can accelerate or even just expand on what's actually going on now. So the compassion drive to us for DreamWeek is basically saying, look, we do need blood. We know that if anyone who actually has some sort of traumatic experience, their families or so understand that particular need very directly when it does happen. But how can we challenge ourselves as a community to understand that we all need it as well? And how can we extend that beyond just Goodwill, or like I said, the Texas Blood and Tissue, and say, can we challenge ourselves in January and come back in August and see how well we have done as a community, as opposed to individuals reaching out and just offering their own what they think they can. So this compassion drive is, how can we force this issue? How can we use the drivers within our community? How can we celebrate them, assist them, and become part of it? And that's why we chose that particular word to associate with compassion.
So what I hear in all of that too is education, right? Relationship, action. So it's like putting all of these aspects, celebration. We've got celebration that's happening too during Dream Week, but putting all of that together and into action, and how can we drive compassion forward? I love, Louise, what you put into chat. What is the difference between kindness and compassion? Kindness gives to another. Compassion knows no other. And in fact, there's been a lot of work, around equity in all sorts of places, but in the city, it has an equity budget. And so there's also, which is great, there are all these conversations of, well, what is kindness? What is compassion? What is equity? How do all these things relate to each other? Isn't it great that we're even having those conversations, right? But one of the things we do talk about is that if compassion is at foot, these other things happen. Equity and respect and kindness. The reverse isn't always true, that equity doesn't always isn't always compassionate, it can harm. And in fact, compassionate acts, there's almost always some harm that's done. It's about looking to the things that harm the least amount of people and at the same time contribute to the greater good. So compassion is, like this foundation. And the fact that we're even having this conversation that I would suggest to you maybe 10 years ago, we wouldn't have been having. There's a lot that has grown and evolved locally as well as globally. But we need much more, right? We aren't far from where we need to be. So we're at 8:45. And I always promise everyone we will absolutely finish by 8:45. So I want to thank those who have come, all who have come this morning and stepped up and stepped into our day and into our world, because that's what it's going to take, showing up and being a part of this. But thank you, Sho and Wyndee and Meg and Karen and Lisa and Louise and Jackie and Shahram and Jan, and we could go through the whole list because it's gonna and does take all of us. So thank you all. I hope to see many of you at different Dream Week events. I plan to be at all 3 of those Sundays, plus a bunch of other stuff. So I hope to see you there. Thank you for being with us today, and we'll see you next Thursday when we hear from Jan about Buddhism, healing, and from within that tradition. Thank you so much. Have great days.